Hi, this is Tay Lopez with Powerhouse TC. This is a quick video on how to write an offer in Transaction Desk. So we are going to start from scratch. Your buyer wants to write an offer. I've picked out a property already in MLS for this, so I already have it pulled up on another screen. And we are going to start with create a transaction. This top button here, everyone has it on their dashboard, so let's click create a transaction. We are going to assume that you already have your template set up because I did set up prior to you writing an offer. So I'm going to put this address in. Now you can name it whatever you want. I always like to name it with the address because anytime I write an offer for a buyer, you're going to create a new transaction. You're never going to reuse that transaction even if it's the same buyer. So I'm going to name it with the address, and then the template I have in there, and I'm going to choose residential purchase, and then I'm going to import the data from MLS and put the MLS number. So make sure you have the proper type chosen here, which is a residential. It'll default to that. So I'm going to put residential, I'm going to put the MLS number in, and then I'm going to make sure that it says add me as buyer's agent. This little button for use wizard, I recommend to not use the wizard, so we're not going to check that. Click create. It takes a second because it is pulling everything from the MLS for you. Okay, so all of the information from MLS came in here. Now we need to set up our contacts. That's the number one step before you touch any forms, documents. You go straight over to the right-hand side and click contacts. The contact setup is very important. So if you notice, seller says client of Sakala Group. A lot of agents put that in MLS as the seller's name. So then you need to just edit that. So I'm going to click on that and edit the seller's name by looking in Monsoon to find the seller's name. All right. Seller's name is Brenna. Legal name is going to be the full name, and then first and last name needs to be set up. Make sure the type says seller, and we're going to click save. Okay, next we need to add our buyers. So I'm going to add an existing contact. If you have already done a deal with them, written an offer for them, they'll probably be as an existing contact in there. So that's where I go, and I'm going to find Bob Buyer. As well, if you haven't, then what you're going to do is click create new transaction contact. Select buyer, put their first and last name, and their email. And that's all you need to do. First, last name, email, and then this contact is set up. This is how it's going to show on the contract. So make sure that you have their legal name here written as they want it to show on the contract. There is going to be another video on setting it up as an LLC or a trust and how you would want to set that contact up. It's not in this video, but if you're in that situation, you might want to check out on how to do that. All right, so I've set up my buyer. If you have two buyers, you would just repeat that and say create new transaction contact and do a second buyer. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to keep it as one. So once I have all my contacts set up how I want them, I'm going to go to the right-hand side and click on forms, and then I'm going to click the residential purchase contract and start filling this in. So a lot of this is filled in from our templates being done, and then it pulled over the other information from the contacts, which is the buyer and the seller's name, and then it pulled in the MLS information. And so you just want to check and make sure that that's all right. The assessor's number, the legal description is there. We are going to write a purchase price of $500,000 on this one. Earnest money, $5,000. Additional cash for their down payment. Let's just say they're going to put an extra $95,000, and that leaves them with a $400,000 loan. And then I'm going to put to be secured by conventional loan. Okay, Now this is to show you how to use the system, so I'm not going to go through and explain a lot about writing the actual offer. Just touch on a couple key points. So I'm going to choose my close of escrow date. There is an HOA addendum, so I'm going to select that HOA addendum. I'm also, let's say I'm going to select a, just for the sake, an example of this, I'm going to select the buyer contingency addendum. And then let's select fridge and washer, conventional loan. Escrow officer's information is already in there. And let's say I want to change the inspection period to 7 days. You can do that. And home warranty. Say I want the seller to pay for a home warranty. Additional terms, you can add your clause at this point if you wanted to add any clauses, if you had those set up. If you don't have those set up and don't know how, there is a video on how to set up clauses. So these are all the clauses that I have set up in there. So let's say I wanted to close on or before clause in there, and then let's just say I want one that says utility. So these are the two clauses that the buyers want. Close of escrow to be on or before, and our close of escrow date was 2/23/23, and then this utility one is in here as well. And then we just like to end it with that, so all other terms and conditions remain the same, so nobody can write anything underneath it. Terms of acceptance is going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. My information automatically imported in here because I said add myself as buyer's agent, and then it took the seller's information, the selling agent's information from MLS. And we are both with the same brokerage, so I'm going to change my check mark to both buyer and seller. And that means we need a consent to limited representation. All right, so I'm done filling out this offer. I'm going to click Save and Exit. And that brings us back to our forms here. So now I can edit any other forms that I need to at this point. The agency should already be filled out from our templates, so I don't need to do that, but I do need to add a form in. And that was the buyer contingency addendum because that's what I checked on section 1F. So the way to do that, and I was just doing it real fast, let me go back, is to click add, plus mark here, and in the search bar, I'm just going to start typing it in, and it pops up. So buyer contingency addendum. I also needed a consent to limited representation, so I'm going to do consent to limited representation. And those two go in my basket as I check them, and I'm going to click add. Now they're popped up here, and I can go and edit them. So the buyer contingency addendum. All right, so I have opened the buyer contingency addendum, and I am going to edit this. So let's just say section 2 applies. I don't have an address in mind, so we're going to make one up, Powerhouse Street in Scottsdale. Okay, and let's just say it's closing on the same day. So that's all I need to fill out on the buyer contingency addendum. I'm going to click Save and Exit out of this form. Consent to limited representation is the next one I added, and I need to fill out that information. It doesn't autofill the brokerage information, so I'm going to put that. And then under 2 licensees, I'm going to put licensees. And that's all that needs to be filled out on that one. So again, click Save and Exit. And that's writing the offer in there. Now, if you look on the right-hand side, click on Documents. Anything that was within your template documents, which our affiliated business disclosure will be in there, as well as any documents that were loaded into the MLS. And that's where this HOA addendum comes from, is that was loaded into the MLS. So you have your documents here, and you have the forms that you've added to the transaction and filled out, it's ready to be sent for signature. The sending for signature is going to be done on a separate video, so if you're looking at how to do that, then find that video as well for help. But otherwise, I hope this helps, and reach out with any questions.